The soft purple light of the ship's control room reflected off Dr. Blue's scaled skin as she stared at the readings on her screen. Her long ears twitched forward, a sign of worry among her kind. As the lead cynobiologist aboard the research vessel Starweaver, she had seen many strange things in deep space, but nothing quite like this. "Captain," she called out, her voice barely above a whisper, typical of her species who evolved from small, cautious creatures. "I'm detecting unusual energy patterns from Sector 7. Captain Root, a tall figure with silvery fur and 4 arms, moved smoothly across the bridge to her station. Like all crew members of the Starweaver, he came from a species that had evolved as prey animals. It made them excellent at space exploration. Careful, thoughtful, and always alert to danger. "Show me," he said quietly. Dr. Blue's slender fingers danced across the holographic display, bringing up the sensor readings. A small ship, perhaps a quarter the size of the Starweaver, drifted silently through space. Its design was unlike anything in their database. "Life signs?" Captain Root asked, all 4 of his hands gripping the back of her chair, another sign of growing tension. Dr. Blue adjusted the sensors. "1. But," she paused, rechecking her readings. "The pattern is completely unknown. The energy signature doesn't match any known species in our database." The bridge crew fell silent. In their 100 years of deep space exploration, they had encountered 17 different intelligent species. All of them shared certain biological patterns, the mark of evolution from prey species. This reading was different. "Magnification," ordered Captain Root. The main screen flickered to life, showing the drifting vessel. Its hull was dark, marked with strange symbols. NASA. The design was utilitarian, built for function rather than beauty. Most disturbing were the obvious weapon ports, small but unmistakable. Dr. Blue felt her scales tighten against her body, an instinctive response to danger. "Captain, those are weapon systems." "Predator species," whispered First Officer Leaf, her feathers rustling with anxiety. The very word sent a shiver through the bridge crew. In all their exploration, they had never encountered a spacefaring predator species. Their scientists had theorized that predator species would be too aggressive, too unstable to achieve the cooperation necessary for advanced space travel. Captain Root took a deep breath. "Dr. Blue, what's the status of the life sign?" She checked her readings again. "Stable, but weak. They appear to be in some form of suspended animation. Their life support systems are running on emergency power." "Options?" the captain asked, looking around the bridge. First Officer Leaf's feathers flattened, a sign of extreme caution. "Standard protocol for unknown vessels is to mark the location and call for a defense fleet." "That would take 3 weeks," Dr. Blue found herself saying. "The life support system will fail in less than 2 days." She surprised herself with her own words. Why was she arguing to help a potential predator? Captain Root's ears swiveled as he thought. "Dr. Blue, your department. Your call. What do you recommend?" Dr. Blue stared at the readings. Everything in her genetic memory screamed danger. Her ancestors had survived by running from predators, not helping them. But she was also a scientist. This could be the discovery of a lifetime. A space-capable predator species that somehow achieved the cooperation needed for space travel. "We help them," she said finally. "We're researchers. This is the greatest discovery we could make. Understanding how a predator species achieved space travel could revolutionize our understanding of evolution and civilization." Captain Root was quiet for a long moment. "The risk. High," Dr. Blue admitted. "But we have security protocols. We can keep them in medical stasis until we understand more. And," she hesitated, "if they achieve space travel, they must have some level of civilized behavior." The captain's ears twitched forward, then back. Finally, he nodded. "Prepare a rescue team. Full containment protocols. Dr. Blue, you'll oversee the operation from the medical bay." As the crew rushed to their stations, Dr. Blue stared at the strange ship on the screen. In a few hours, They would encounter something unprecedented. A living predator from the stars. She felt equal parts terror and fascination. The hunt for knowledge, it seemed, was stronger than fear. The rescue team moved slowly through the airlock of the unknown vessel. Dr. Blue watched through their helmet cameras from the safety of the Starweaver's medical bay, her claws tapping nervously on the control panel. Despite the heavy protective suits, the team's movements showed their fear, ears flat, tails low, scales tight against their bodies. Air pressure is stable, reported Green, the engineering specialist. Atmosphere, interesting, high nitrogen, significant oxygen content. Temperature approximately 20 degrees standard. Dr. Bloom noted everything in her log. The environment itself told a story. This species needed a lot of oxygen. That usually meant high energy consumption, another predator trait that made her scales tingle with worry. Moving to the main corridor, said Green. The camera feed showed a narrow passage, lit only by their suit lights and a few dim emergency panels. The design was different from anything they'd seen before. Angular, practical, with exposed pipes and conduits. Look at these markings, whispered Red, the language specialist. The camera focused on symbols along the wall. Arrows, numbers, and more of those NASA markings. The species uses visual language, highly developed spatial awareness. They moved deeper into the ship. Dr. Blue's eyes widened as they passed what was clearly an exercise room. The equipment suggested incredible strength, weights that would crush her people, resistance machines built for powerful muscles. Medical bay ahead, Green reported. Life sign is stronger. The team paused at the entrance. Through their cameras, Dr. Blue could see several metal pods along the walls. All were dark except one, which glowed with a soft blue light. That's the containment unit, asked Red, voice shaking. Not containment, Dr. Blue corrected, studying the readings. It's a survival pod. Some kind of hibernation technology. She admired the engineering, crude compared to their own, but clever in its simplicity. The team approached the active pod. Its surface was frosted, but Dr. Blue could make out a shape inside. Her heart nearly stopped. The creature was large, much larger than her people. Its body structure screamed predator to her ancient instincts. Strong limbs, forward-facing eyes, and most terrifying of all, clearly visible teeth that could only belong to a meat-eater. By the stars, whispered Green. Look at the hands. Dr. Blue focused on them, flexible fingers with thick, blunt ends, perfect for both fine manipulation and fighting. The creature wore some kind of tight-fitting blue uniform with more of those NASA markings. Pod's data system is active, Red reported, connecting to a nearby panel. It's in some kind of emergency protocol. The occupant was put into hibernation when their ship was damaged by space debris, I think. Autopilot was set to keep broadcasting a distress signal. Dr. Blue studied the medical readings from the pod. The creature's biology was fascinating. High body temperature, incredibly dense muscle structure, and a nervous system that suggested remarkable speed and reaction time. Everything about it was built for hunting. But there were other signs too. The brain was huge compared to body size. The hands were clearly designed for tool use. And scattered around the pod were things that made no sense for a simple predator. Books, a small music device, and pictures showing the creature with others of its kind, all displaying their teeth in what seemed to be a non-aggressive gesture. Dr. Blue, Captain Root's voice came through the comm. Your assessment. She stared at the readings, at the sleeping creature, at the mix of technology and art around it. This was no simple hunter. This was something new. A predator species that had turned its hunting instincts toward the stars themselves. Begin transfer, she ordered. Full medical protocols. Keep it in hibernation until we can set up proper safety measures. But she paused, watching the gentle rise and fall of the creature's chest. Treat it with care. This isn't just a discovery. This could change everything we think we know about intelligent life. As the team began preparing the pod for transport, Dr. Blue couldn't take her eyes off the sleeping creature's face. Despite her fear, she felt something else growing stronger: curiosity. What kind of society could turn predators into explorers? What would they learn when those eyes finally opened? For the first time in her life, Dr. Blue found herself eager to meet a hunter. Dr. Blue stood behind the safety field, watching the hibernation pod's readings change. After 3 days of careful preparation, they were ready to wake the human. The medical bay was cleared of all unnecessary personnel. Only she, Captain Root, and 2 medical technicians remained. "Beginning revival sequence," announced Tech White, his feathers trembling slightly as he worked the controls. Body temperature rising, heart rate increasing. Dr. Blue checked the security measures again. 3 separate force fields surrounded the pod. Guards waited outside. Yet somehow, she felt these precautions might be unnecessary. The more she had studied the human ship logs, the more fascinating their species became. "Brain activity spiking," reported Tech Gray. "Consciousness returning." The pod's cover slowly cleared, revealing the human's face more clearly. The predator features were still frightening, those forward-facing eyes, the obvious teeth, but now she could see other things too. The face seemed peaceful, almost gentle in sleep. Suddenly, the human's eyes opened. Dr. Blue instinctively stepped back, her scales tightening. The human blinked several times, then slowly sat up, movements careful and deliberate. Its eyes, a startling blue color, scanned the room, taking in the aliens and the medical equipment. Then, to everyone's horror, it showed its teeth. "Hello," the human said, its voice surprisingly soft. The translation devices picked up the word instantly. "I'm James. Thank you for rescuing me." Dr. Blue forced herself to step forward. This was her job, after all. "Welcome aboard the research vessel Starweaver," she said carefully. "I am Dr. Blue. How are you feeling?" The human, James, moved its shoulders in an odd motion. "Stiff, hungry, but alive, thanks to you." It looked around again. "First contact scenario, I'm guessing." "Don't worry, we've practiced for this. I'll move slowly and keep my hands visible." Captain Root's ears perked up with surprise. They had expected confusion, maybe aggression. Not this calm understanding. James carefully swung its legs over the side of the pod, movements still slow and deliberate. "Your ship designs are beautiful," it said, looking around. "Very different from ours. More organic shades, better use of space too, I bet." Dr. Blue found herself relaxing slightly. The human's voice was gentle, its manner respectful. "You're very calm about this," she noted. James showed its teeth again. A smile, she realized from the ship's records. "We've been hoping to meet other intelligent life for centuries. We even made movies about it. Though I have to admit, you all look much better than our imagination came up with." Tech White actually chirped a laugh at that, then quickly covered his beak in embarrassment. "You're not afraid?" Captain Root asked, his 4 arms now relaxed at his sides. "Oh, I'm terrified," James admitted cheerfully. "But excited too. This is literally what I trained for. Though the hibernation wasn't part of the plan. My ship got hit by debris. Systems were failing. Had to put myself in suspended animation and hope someone found me." Dr. Blue moved closer to the force field, fascination overtaking fear. "Your species, you're predators, aren't you?" "Omnivores, actually," James corrected. "We can eat pretty much anything. Had to survive on Earth. We're adaptable. It's kind of our thing." He looked at the force fields. "But you're right to be careful. We can be dangerous. We just choose not to be, most of the time." That concept struck Dr. Blue hard. Choose not to be dangerous. The idea that a predator species could simply decide to override its instincts was revolutionary. "Would you mind if I ran some scans?" she asked. "Your biology is fascinating." James smiled again, And this time Dr. Blue didn't flinch. "Sure, I'm curious about you too. But, could I get some food first?" Coming out of hibernation really works up an appetite. Captain Root's ears flicked forward. "We prepared nutrient packs based on your ship's supplies." "Perfect," James said, then added with another smile. "Don't worry. I won't eat any of you. We gave up that sort of thing a long time ago." Dr. Blue found herself believing him. As she began preparing for her scans, she realized something extraordinary. She was no longer afraid. Cautious, yes, but the terror had been replaced by pure scientific excitement. This human was going to change everything they thought they knew about life in the universe. Over the next few days, Dr. Blue found herself spending more and more time observing James. The human had been given quarters with transparent walls, both for safety and study. But as she watched him exercise one morning, she realized the walls weren't really for safety anymore. They were just habit. "Your strength is remarkable," she noted, watching James lift weights that would need 3 of her people to move. "But it's your endurance that's truly fascinating." James set down the weights carefully. "Humans are persistence hunters," he explained, wiping his face with a towel. "We're not the strongest or fastest species on Earth, but we can keep going longer than almost anything else." Persistence hunters. Dr. Blue's scales rippled with interest. "How does that work?" "We chase prey until it gets tired," James said, taking a drink of water. "Our bodies are really good at cooling down, and we can track things for days. Eventually, the prey just collapses from exhaustion." Dr. Blue's ears flattened automatically, but she forced them up again. "That's terrifying." "Yeah, I guess it is," James agreed. "But we use those same skills to explore our world. Humans can adapt to almost any environment. Desert, Arctic, mountains, forests. We learn to live everywhere." As if to demonstrate, James started doing something he called push-ups. Dr. Blue watched in amazement as he continued talking without seeming to get tired. "The same traits that made us good hunters made us good explorers," he explained between movements. "We're curious, persistent. We see something new, and we want to understand it. That's why we went to space." "To hunt?" Dr. Blue asked hesitantly. James laughed, standing up. "To learn. To discover. Sure, our hunting instincts help. We're good at solving problems because we evolved to track and plan. But we turned those skills towards science and exploration instead." Dr. Blue adjusted her instruments, recording everything. "Your ship's logs mention something called NASA. National Aeronautics and Space Administration," James said, sitting down cross-legged. "One of Earth's space agencies. We started with tiny rockets, then moon landings, then Mars colonies. Now we're reaching for the stars." He smiled. "Though I didn't expect to be the first human to meet aliens." "Your species works together for space exploration?" Dr. Blue asked. "Even though you're pred, even though you have hunting instincts." "We learned to cooperate," James explained. "Had to, really. Space is too big for any one group to explore alone. These days, most of our competitive instincts go into sports and games instead of fighting." Dr. Blue's curiosity piqued. "Games?" James's face lit up. He spent the next hour teaching her something called chess, a strategy game that simulated warfare, but without any actual fighting. Dr. Blue was fascinated by how it challenged her mind in new ways. "See," James said as she struggled with a move. "Humans turned our predatory planning skills into something creative. We still like to hunt solutions to problems, but nobody gets hurt." "It's remarkable," Dr. Blue admitted. "Your species took traits that should have made you violent and unpredictable, and instead, we grew up," James finished. "Don't get me wrong. Humans can still be dangerous if we need to be. But we learned that cooperation works better than conflict. Exploration is more rewarding than conquest." As if to prove his point, he deliberately made a bad move in their game, letting Dr. Blue capture his piece. She recognized what he was doing. teaching her the game by letting her experience small victories. A predator species that used its hunting abilities to teach rather than harm. The concept was revolutionary. "I should write my report for the day," Dr. Blue said, standing. "But would you teach me more about human games tomorrow?" "Of course," James smiled. "And maybe you could tell me more about your species. I'm curious too, you know." That's another human trait. We love learning about new cultures. As Dr. Blue left the observation area, she realized something had changed. She no longer saw James as a predator to study. She was beginning to see him as a person to learn from. And that, she suspected, would be the most important discovery of all. The warning alarms jolted Dr. Blue awake. Red lights flashed throughout the Starweaver as the ship's computer announced, "Critical failure in main reactor cooling system. Containment breach possible in 30 minutes. She rushed to the bridge, finding Captain Root and the engineering team already there. Their faces showed the gravity of the situation. "Status?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "The cooling system is failing," Tech Green explained, all four hands moving rapidly over the controls. "Temperature rising in the main reactor. If we can't cool it down, we'll have to abandon ship." "Can we fix it?" Captain Root asked. "The maintenance tunnels are too hot," Tech White said, feathers drooping. "Our bodies can't handle those temperatures. We'd pass out before reaching the control panel." Dr. Blue's scales tingled as a thought struck her. What about James? Humans have better heat tolerance than us. The bridge fell silent. Send a predator species into their ship's core. The idea seemed crazy, but they were running out of options. "Get him," Captain Root ordered. Minutes later, James stood on the bridge, quickly grasping the situation as they explained. "Show me the schematics," he said, all casual friendliness replaced by intense focus. Dr. Blue brought up the ship's diagrams. James studied them for precisely 10 seconds. "I can do it," he said. "Human bodies can handle higher temperatures than yours, and we're good at operating under stress. It's part of our emergency response instincts. The maintenance tunnel is 1/2 kilometer long," Tech Green warned, "and the temperature is still rising." James was already removing his outer shirt. "Then I better run. Dr. Blue, I'll need your guidance over the comm system." "It's too dangerous," she protested, "even for a human." James gave her that now familiar smile. "Persistence predator, remember? This is exactly the kind of thing we evolved to do. Push through difficult conditions to reach a goal." Before anyone could argue further, the ship shuddered. 20 minutes to containment breach, the computer announced. Captain Root's ears flattened, then rose in decision. "Do it." They equipped James with a communication device and basic tools. Dr. Blue watched on cameras as he entered the maintenance tunnel, immediately breaking into a steady run despite the rising heat. "Temperature at 40 degrees Celsius, Tech White reported. 45. 50. "James?" Dr. Blue called through the comm. "Are you all right?" "Just getting warmed up," James replied, his breathing controlled despite running. "Humans evolved in hot African savannas. We're built for this. Talk me through the repair sequence." Dr. Blue pushed aside her worry and focused on guiding him. "You'll need to reroute power from the secondary systems first." "Got it," James said, his voice strained but steady. The camera showed him reaching the main control panel. His skin was covered in water. Sweat, she remembered from her studies. A human cooling mechanism. "Temperature at 60 degrees Celsius, Tech White announced. No species should be able to function in that." But James was functioning. His hands moved steadily over the controls, following Dr. Blue's instructions. "Rerouting power now. Next." "The coolant valves need to be manually reset," she said. "But James, the metal will be too hot to touch." "Good thing I grabbed these," he said, pulling out his thick shirt and wrapping it around his hands. Then he gripped the valve wheels and began to turn them. The next 5 minutes were tense as James worked through the repair sequence. His breathing grew heavier, but he never slowed down. Finally, he called out, "Last valve done." The temperature gauges began to drop. The warning lights faded. A cheer went up from the bridge crew. "Get out of there," Dr. Blue ordered. Now, James didn't need to be told twice. He ran back through the tunnel, emerging drenched in sweat but grinning. "See, told you persistence predators come in handy." Dr. Blue rushed to check his vital signs. "You could have died." "But I didn't," James said simply. "And the ship is safe. That's what matters." Looking at him, Dr. Blue suddenly understood something profound. Humans weren't just predators who learned to be peaceful. They were protectors who used their predatory traits to help others. The most terrifying thing about humans, she realized, wasn't their ability to hunt. It was their ability to care. 2 days after the reactor incident, Dr. Blue found herself in James's quarters, removing the last of the transparent barriers. After his actions to save the ship, the crew had voted unanimously to treat him as an honored guest rather than a research subject. "You didn't have to do this," James said, watching her work. "I understand why the barriers were there." "No," Dr. Blue replied, her scales shimmering with new confidence. "I don't think we do need them anymore. You've proven something important about humans." James sat on his bed, head tilted in curiosity. "What's that?" "That strength doesn't have to mean threat." She finished removing the barrier controls. "When I first saw you, all I could see were the predator traits, the forward-facing eyes, the teeth, the physical power. But now I see how humans use those traits differently than we expected." "How so?" James asked, genuinely interested. Dr. Blue settled into a chair, noticing how she no longer instinctively calculated the distance to the door. "Your eyes face forward because you need precision, not just for hunting, but for building things. Your teeth can tear meat, yes, but they're also used for those smiles that show friendship. And your strength," she paused, "your strength protects." James nodded slowly. "We learned a long time ago that being the strongest person in the room means you have a responsibility to help others, not hurt them." "That's what I don't understand," Dr. Blue admitted. "How did predators learn this? Our scientists always believed that hunter species would be too aggressive for advanced civilization." James thought for a moment. "Have I told you about human children yet?" Dr. Blue's ears perked up. "No. Human babies are born completely helpless," James explained. "They take years to mature. That means adults have to be protective, not just aggressive. We learn to use our predator instincts to guard our young, then our families, then our communities. Like you did with the reactor," Dr. Blue realized. "You used your physical advantages to protect others." "Exactly. Human history is full of stories about the strong protecting the weak. It became part of our culture. The most respected humans aren't those who can defeat others, but those who can save them." Dr. Blue's scientific mind raced with implications. "So a predator species might actually be better suited for cooperation than we thought, because they can defend the group. And because hunting taught us the value of teamwork," James added. "Early humans hunted in groups. We had to communicate, plan, and work together. Those same skills let us build cities, create art, explore space." Just then, a soft chime sounded. Dr. Blue checked her communicator, and her scales rippled with excitement. "Speaking of communication, we just received word from my homeworld. They want to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth." James's face lit up. "Really? That's fantastic. They were especially interested in your rescue of the ship," she continued. "It helped them understand something I've been trying to explain in my reports, that human strength isn't something to fear, but something that could help make the galaxy safer for everyone. Protectors, not predators," James suggested with a smile. "Exactly." Dr. Blue found herself smiling back, an expression she'd learned from him. "Though you're still technically both, you've just chosen which aspect to emphasize." "Choice is a very human thing," James agreed. "We're not perfect. We can still be dangerous when we want to be, but we prefer to use our abilities to explore and protect." Dr. Blue stood, feeling a profound shift in her understanding. I should go prepare for the diplomatic communications. But James, thank you. Not just for saving the ship, but for helping us understand. Thank you for giving us a chance, James replied, even when your instincts told you not to. As Dr. Blue left the room, no longer a containment area, but simply a friend's quarters, she realized that the greatest discovery wasn't just that humans could be peaceful despite being predators. It was that sometimes the most dangerous-looking species could turn out to be the best allies anyone could hope for. The trick was being brave enough to look past the teeth and see the smile behind them. Dr. Blue stood in the Starweaver's shuttle bay, watching James prepare for his journey back to Earth. A month had passed since their first contact, and now everything was changing. Behind them, crew members worked to load data crystals containing cultural exchange information and diplomatic proposals. "Are you sure you won't come with me?" James asked, checking his supplies. "Earth would love to have a xenobiologist of your expertise visit." "Soon," Dr. Blue promised, her scales showing the soft purple of mixed emotions. "But first I need to present my findings to the Science Council. They need to understand what we've learned about humans." James paused his preparations. "And what exactly have you learned about us scary predators?" His tone was light, teasing. Dr. Blue activated her data pad, bringing up her final report. "Would you like to hear it?" "I'd be honored," James said, sitting on a cargo container. She began to read. Final analysis. Human species study. "In my career as a xenobiologist, I never expected to write these words. We were wrong about predator species. Our assumption that hunting instincts would prevent advanced civilization was based on fear rather than fact. Humans have shown us a different path." James listened quietly as she continued. "Human predatory traits, rather than hindering their development, gave them unique advantages. Their forward-facing eyes gave them precision for tool-making. Their stamina from pursuit hunting became endurance for exploration. Their pack-hunting instincts evolved into complex social cooperation." She scrolled down. "But most remarkably, humans developed something we never considered possible in a predator species, the conscious choice to protect rather than harm. They turned their hunting instincts into guardianship, their territorial instincts into exploration, and their aggressive potential into defensive capabilities." "You make us sound quite noble," James commented. "The reactor incident proved it wasn't just words," Dr. Blue responded. "You risked your life to save our ship. That's when I understood. Humans aren't just reformed predators. You're natural protectors who simply kept the useful parts of your hunting heritage." She continued reading. "I therefore recommend not only diplomatic relations with Earth, but a comprehensive alliance. Human physical capabilities complement our own weaknesses. Their problem-solving approaches, developed from hunting strategies, offer new perspectives on scientific challenges. And most importantly, their protective instincts could help create a safer galaxy for all species." James stood up, looking touched. "That's quite a change from when you first found me." "The final paragraph is the most important," Dr. Blue said softly. "Perhaps the greatest lesson humans have taught us is that appearances can deceive. What we feared as a predator's eyes became a friend's watchful gaze. What we dreaded as a hunter's strength became a protector's power. In learning to look past our fear of humans, we learned to look past our own limitations." She lowered the pad. "The Council has already approved my recommendations. They want to establish joint research stations, cultural exchange programs, and defensive cooperation." "Defensive cooperation?" James raised an eyebrow. "There are less peaceful species in the galaxy," Dr. Blue admitted. "Having humans as allies would help us sleep better at night." James smiled. "From test subject to bodyguard. Quite a promotion." "From feared predator to trusted friend," Dr. Blue corrected. "That's an even bigger jump." The shuttle bay speakers announced the departure countdown. James picked up his bag, then turned to Dr. Blue with serious eyes. "You know, a month ago I hoped to find intelligent life in space," he said. "Instead, I found something much rarer. genuine understanding between species. Dr. Blue felt her scales shimmer with emotion. Just promise you'll come back. I still have so many questions about humans. Count on it, James grinned. And bring a chessboard when you visit Earth. I know some grandmasters who'd love to play against an alien scientist. As she watched James's shuttle depart, Dr. Blue reflected on how much had changed. She had started this journey terrified of meeting her first human. Now she was sad to see one leave. But she knew this wasn't an ending. It was just the beginning of something much bigger. A future where predator and prey species could work together, each bringing their own strengths to the stars. All that had taken was the courage to look past the teeth and see the smile.